Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to my channel and podcast. This is Beverly Fells Jones, the Silver Fox of Consciousness. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a subscriber, I appreciate every time you come back and listen to my sometimes ramblings, information, conversation, teaching, whatever you want to see. So it's been a while since I've uploaded anything. I've been somewhat busy and dealing with the heat of Texas and gardening, and my lawnmower died and a bunch of other stuff, but that's no excuse. But I had been thinking about the fact that I had not talked to you from one of my favorite authors. Now, she's considered to be a New Thought author. She is considered to be a force, and I've talked about her before. This person is Florence Scovel Shinn. Um, she lived from 1871 to 1940, and she wrote a book that I'm asking my grandchildren and my children to read once a year, and I'm asking you to do the same thing. And the name of that book is The Game of Life and How to Play It. It it is a very good book to help you move forward and plan your life and understand that the universal mind is there to help you and how to go about doing it. In her first paragraph, she says, "It is a game, however," talking about life, "which cannot be played successfully without the knowledge of spiritual law, and the Old and New Testaments give the rules of the game with wonderful clearness. Jesus taught that it was a great game of giving and receiving." So think about picking up. In fact, there's a book you can pick up on Amazon. I'll try to put the link in the description. The Wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn, and it contains 4 of her complete books. My book is so old it's falling apart and it's yellow and so on. Okay, so what has that got to do with what I want to talk about today? Well, the key is there's been a huge transition in the United Kingdom. So now we have King Charles III. And one of the things that he said in his very first address is the fact that they loved Harry and Meghan. And basically, to me, it was like, and you can stay in the United States, right? Or with, that's not being very nice, is it? That's not nice. Let me change that. He basically said that they loved them, and that, I don't have the quote in front of me, but basically that he can they're going to enjoy their life in the United States. In other words, solidifying the fact they ain't coming back. They're not coming back, right? And that he's okay with that. And he's trying to say, I think, now this is my own opinion, that they're working things out between him and Harry and Meghan. And he'll get to see his grandbabies on occasion. And that's good. The, the thing that I find is that they still didn't shut down the media with their vitriol with Harry and Meghan. And Whether that will ever happen, we don't know. We just need to be very wise and on the stick in order to dispel the things that the tabloids are going to do. Well, hopefully, with Harry's lawsuit against the Daily Fail on the phone hacking charge, which he refuses to settle, right? Then maybe we'll help bankrupt a few places. Anyhow, that is what's going on there. But today, and you see it, it says making bricks without straw. For those of you who may not be aware, in the Old Testament, in the Pentateuch, I think it's called, in the Hebrew scriptures, I'll put it that way, in Exodus, the 5th chapter, it's talking about the fact that Moses and Aaron were told by Jehovah, well, his name wasn't used as Jehovah at the time. He says, I am who I am. All right. Anyhow, I'm going off track here. Anyway, they went to Pharaoh and said, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says. Let my people go so that they may hold the festival to me in the wilderness. Now, first of all, Pharaoh answers, who is this Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I did not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go. Now, it's a very simple thing. All he asked, basically, was let them go have a festival in the wilderness. Now, I read a little bit further, and basically what they were asking for is to have that day of rest, right, and honor their God. And if any of you are familiar with this, Pharaoh had a very hard heart. And technically, based on preachers and so on, he was given a hard heart by Spirit. Because, what did I want to say? They wanted to do a example. That's a good one. Very good example. Now, if you think that the Israelites had been under Egyptian rule for 430 years, they had lives. They were slaves, but the slaves were different. They were able to own property. They were able to amass wealth. I mean, a lot of these Jews were super wealthy. So it's not like thinking about slavery here in the United States or in the Caribbean where we weren't allowed to own anything. We couldn't read. We couldn't do anything. No, that wasn't the kind of slavery that was there. But what has this got to do with bricks? He says, Pharaoh says, Moses and Aaron, why are you taking people away from their labor? Get back to your work. You know, he says, look, the people of the land are now numerous and you're stopping them from working. And Pharaoh said, I don't know who this guy thinks he is telling me to let his people go. Okay, people, I'm going to show you what my strength is. You are no longer to supply people with straw for making bricks. Let them go and gather their own straw, but require them to make the same number of bricks as before. Don't reduce the quota. They are lazy. That's why they're crying out, let us go and sacrifice to our God. Make the work harder for the people so that they keep working and pay no attention to lies. What's this got to do with Harry and Meghan? Well, I think you already know. We've seen cartoons that showed Harry working behind the counter at McDonald's. We've seen all these people talking about, well, if they don't have their titles, strip them of their titles because they're making money with their titles. Really? Take away their security. Based on what Harry said in the Oprah interview, I have made the assumption that Charles was supposed to continue to fund them for the year. Right? They had that 1 year window, and he didn't want the 1 year window, but they said, no, we'll give you the 1 year window. And I'm assuming, because Harry was not happy, that he cut off that money after the first quarter and not give it for the full year. Straw. Money was straw. Security is straw. Go make your life without the money. Go make your life without the security. You'll be running back. You're going to be saying, oh, please help me. No, we need this. We can't make a life. We can't start anything, right? Without the straw. Exodus 10 goes on and says, then the slave drivers and overseers went out and said to the people, this is what Pharaoh says, I will not give you any more straw. This is what Charles said. We will not give you any more money. We will not give you any more security. And go and get your own straw wherever you can find it. But your work will not be reduced at all. So the people scattered all over Egypt to gather stubble to use for straw. And the slave drivers kept pressing them, complete the work required of you for each day, just as when you had straw. And then they'd go, why haven't you met your quota of bricks yesterday or today or as before? So this is part of what the powers that be were expecting. We're taking this straw away from you. We're taking away this cushion away from you. We're taking away the money for the year, and we're taking away your security. See how you can survive with this. And thus saith the Lord, I'm going to give you Tyler Perry. And listening to her Meghan's interview, when she said Tyler Perry had contacted her during her wedding, before her wedding, or after her wedding, and said, if you ever need me, here's my number. Things that he already knew things weren't going to be good. He saw it. Call me if you need something. Call me if you want some advice. That was their straw, right? That was their pieces of grass. They went out looking to see what they could have, right? Since they were no longer getting that straw from the Pharaoh or from the firm or from his father. And in the meantime, the slave drivers, right? The press was still after him. The slave drivers, the derangers were out laughing at them and saying, what are they going to do? And then the paparazzi was flying over Tyler Perry's house. And then they sued. Loved it. Sued the people that flew the drone over the property illegally and put the people out of business. When you have the hand and you know that you have access to the universal mind, then you have a help. Now, Florence Scovel Shinn does a good summary of what I talked about. And she talks about the fact that Moses, he not only refused to let them go, but told them he would make their task even more difficult. They must make bricks without straw being provided for them. So the firm and the family was making it harder for Meghan and Harry to succeed. Now, many people have said, well, if Meghan and Harry can succeed outside of the royal family, to be able to do their work, to do their charity work, build a home and build a life without the firm, outside of the royal family, ooh, that's going to cause an issue. It's going to cause a problem. Because now it's like, so why can't the rest of you do that? What's his face, the Duke of Kent, whatever, the guy from Kent, all right, and the Duchess of Kent, and you know, everybody else, the Duke of York, he was getting $250,000 a year or something like that from his mama. I don't know what he's going to get now. Anne was getting it. They were all getting it. Philip was getting $750,000, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Every year from what they called the privy purse. That was before the new way of doing it, taking 15% of the profits from the crown estates. Anyway, go back. So Florence goes on and she says, working with spiritual law, they could make bricks without straw, which means to accomplish the seemingly impossible. Now, I don't agree with her on that, because as I read it said they weren't making their quota. Because they had to go out and find, because to build a brick that doesn't fall apart, it needs, and using the clay, it needs to have something to make it stable. It's similar to concrete and using rebar or any kind of wire in order to make it stable. So you've seen them building concrete sidewalks or the roads. There's always this mesh thing that's in there. It helps to break up the concrete. It helps to give air. It helps to dry better. So therefore, when she says working with spiritual law, they could make bricks without straw, which means to accomplish the seeming impossible. So they still had some straw and some grass to put into the bricks. And so Harry and Meghan still had straw to put in the bricks, because we don't know. We only know speculation. We don't know how much money Meghan brought into the marriage. She, to me, appeared to be very responsible. And she did smart stuff like, yeah, I'm going to work for you. I'm going to do this photo shoot. I want the shoes. I'm going to do this photo shoot. Part of my pay is the clothes. She showed her closet with all those shoes. She didn't show you all her clothes. So we were probably seeing clothes during her time in the UK, a closet that was full and she could draw from and use, and she had friends who could help dress her. So when they left the working as working royals, senior royals, so Meghan had a certain amount of money. People are watching Suits like crazy. We're still watching Suits like crazy. She gets residuals. I saw a guy on TikTok today, and he said, and it was either I think it was Big Bang Theory. He had 2 words in 2008 or 9. I'll see if I can find it and put it up. And he made 40 grand in the last 10 years for 2 words because of residuals. 2 words. She was a significant character in Suits. Can you imagine what her residuals were? They were guessing she was being paid $50,000 an episode, but we don't know that. That might have been in the first season of Suits. But as the seasons went on and her manager negotiated for her, it was probably more. And Harry had his mother's inheritance. That's all. He did not get an inheritance from his great-grandmother. As they said, the great-grandmother gave the money to his brother who didn't need it. But that's okay. But he had that money. And we have no idea how much that trust fund has grown since over the last 25 years. So they had that. That was where they pulled part of their straw. And then they had Tyler Perry. And then they had Oprah. And then what they had, we don't know how many people they had. And so, with the spiritual law that comes forth, you accomplish what seems to be impossible. Because going on with Exodus, right? The deliverance under Moses is the freedom man gains from the taskmaster as he learns the law of life. For we can never come under grace except we first know the law. And the law must be known in order to be fulfilled. And if we look at the word Lord and change that to law, it will give you your answers. And part of that is the fear of the law, fear of the Lord, is the beginning of wisdom. Because Harry and Meghan send out love and kindness and sympathy and empathy. And we know that whatever we send out comes back. Because we don't want to be afraid of our boomerangs. And so Florence goes on to say, I read in Medical Journal the following facts telling of the boomerang that this great Pharaoh received. It would appear that flesh is indeed heir to a long and ancient line of eels, when, as was revealed by Lord Monyanan at a lecture at Leeds, that the Pharaoh of the oppression suffered from hardening of the heart in a literal sense. So whatever you give out comes back. Whatever your words are, when you put them out, and if you curse someone else, you're cursing yourself. If you've got a hardening of a heart towards somebody else, it can come back to you physically. So Pharaoh's hardness of heart hardened his own heart. He said a narrowness of the outlook, the restriction and dread of enterprise, a literal hardening of the heart, said this Lord Mayantin. So listen to your heart and make bricks out of straw by knowing the law, by finding those pieces of grass, those pieces of straw, the pieces of seaweed, whatever there is that you can mix into your clay to build your life. You see, the reasoning mind, the intellect, takes the throne of Pharaoh in your consciousness. It says continually, it can't be done. What's the use? We must drown out those dreary suggestions with a vital affirmation. We could say something like this, per Florence. The unexpected happens. May seemingly impossible good now come to pass. Let me say that again. The unexpected happens, but my seemingly impossible good now comes to pass. Think of the joy, she says, of really being free forever from the Pharaoh of oppression. Think of Harry and Meghan being free and out from under the oppression of the monarchy and of the British press, because we know that the world sees what's going on. The world is seeing it. We saw it in Dusseldorf. We saw it at One Young World. We saw it in the park in New York. We have seen it time and time and time again. We've seen it in Meghan's podcast, first week blowing out of the park, #1. And we know that it was the first week. And people would be curious. But in 7 countries, right? The second week, yes, it hit #1 in multiple countries. And it will come back, and it will be anybody that can knock Joe Rogan off for the #1 spot on Spotify has some power. People are interested. And yes, some people won't tune in anymore because it's not what she's talking about is not for them. But I've listened to the 2 podcasts like multiple times now, and I get something new each time. So Florence says, think of the joy of really being free forever from the Pharaoh of oppression. To have the idea of security, health, happiness, and abundance established in the subconscious. It would mean a life free from all limitation. Understand and know that I believe that Harry and Meghan have taken off the shackles of Pharaoh. They have gotten rid of it. Yes, we need to continue to send them happiness and all the wonderful energy and love and prayers, because they still need it from us, and they're going to need it from us for a long time. We support them because I truly believe that they have a purpose right here on earth. They were given a purpose. And as Harry said, the stars were all aligned. He met someone who was lockstep in understanding what he wanted to do in his life. He had someone who believed in him and knew how smart he is. He said, "She is my soulmate." And no matter what the derangers said, no matter what the media says, no matter what anyone says, they were made for each other. Now, if the marriage doesn't last, cancel that thought. But they have come together and they have, you know, all of this vitriol just caused them to cling to each other even more. Cling to each other even more. To depend on each other even more. To work out their problems together even more. To find and bring those people around them into their circle. To help them become the people that they are becoming. Because they're not there yet. Build your bricks without straw. Build your bricks without straw. And at the end of this, Florence says, so find your kingpin. And a kingpin, by the way, is when logs are going down the river and there's a log jam. They find the log that is jamming up and stopping the logs from going down the river. That's called the kingpin. So find your kingpin or pins and your logs of success, happiness, and abundance will go rushing down your river. So once you find the thing that's holding you back or things that are holding you back and move them out of the way. And for Harry and Meghan, it was the firm, and they got rid of having to deal with the royal rota. Those two things were major, and they are working with their logs of success, happiness, and abundance, and they are moving on down that river. And she says, go therefore now and work, for there shall no straw be given to you, yet ye shall make bricks without straw. I hope this conversation has given you some ideas for your life and to help you get rid of those impediments, that Pharaoh that is on your back, and that kingpin that is stopping your good. This is Beverly Fells Jones, the Silver Fox of Consciousness. As you have believed, let it be done to you, and it is so.